Secretly, I still really hope to be able to make something of myself. But who can do anything now after Beethoven? This remark, made by Schubert when he was a teenager who was just starting to nurture his ambitions of becoming a composer, presciently articulated a dilemma many 19th century Central European composers would find themselves confronting. Between his arrival in Vienna in 1792 and his death 35 years later, Beethoven produced a catalogue of works that fundamentally changed the course of Western art music. As a native of the city, whose tragically short life was almost entirely overlapped by Beethoven's, Schubert's struggles to come to terms with the older composer's artistic example were particularly intense. This challenge was made more daunting by profound differences in personality, culture, and creative gifts. Whereas Beethoven's character compelled him to sweep aside any obstacle in his path, Schubert was naturally mild-mannered to the point of self-effacement, a quality that led him to spend his professional life in near total obscurity. Beethoven's art displays a Germanic tendency towards learnedness and intellectual abstraction, while Schubert's devotion to melody and lyricism reflects an Austrian musical sensibility that's informed by the great Italian vocal tradition and its orientation towards modes of musical expression that are accessible and immediately appealing. While less than 20% of Beethoven's output has a vocal component, Schubert wrote over 600 songs for solo voice and piano, and only began to compose large-scale instrumental works during the last 6 years of his life. Although Schubert's Ninth Symphony was long thought to have been written in 1828, the final year of his life, it was actually written 3 years earlier. With its approximate running time of 50 minutes, it so vastly outpaces all his previous symphonies in size and scope that we're prompted to consider what brought about such an expansion of his creative vision. A likely inspiration was Schubert's attendance at the premiere of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in Vienna on May 7, 1824. The addition of an explicitly literary, extra-musical element through the interpolation of voices and text in a symphony, its unprecedented near 70-minute length, and its monumental musical rhetoric set a benchmark that most subsequent 19th century composers found impossible to ignore. In a letter to a friend written 5 weeks before the first performance of Beethoven's Ninth, Schubert had excitedly described the upcoming premiere and expressed a desire to write his own grand symphony that would fully establish his credibility as a symphonic composer. When Schubert wrote his Ninth Symphony during the summer of 1825, he confronted a specific technical challenge. The realm of large-scale symphonic composition was more congenial to a constructivist approach, in which small, often unremarkable bits of musical material are taken and developed to create a broad mosaic. As a result, composers who were naturally disposed to think about music in this way excelled in the symphonic genre, whereas natural melodists such as Mozart and Schubert obtained mixed results, as the completeness of utterance that characterizes a good melody tends to discourage its deconstruction. But in the Ninth Symphony, Schubert achieves a full integration of Beethoven's example while retaining his own extraordinary musical voice. This is established with the symphony's opening horn call, which obliquely references the Ode to Joy. More explicit allusions occur in the finale, and whose rhythms and intervals are used for development throughout the movement. While this type of Beethovenian construction permeates the entire symphony, it's Schubert's vividly poetic harmonic language, which he developed in his exquisitely colored and shaded musical reflections of his song texts, that makes the work identifiably his. The masterwork that grew out of this synthesis leads us to ponder, with generations of music lovers, what Schubert might have further achieved in the symphonic sphere if death hadn't taken him so prematurely.